All right, hi everyone. I know it's been a very, very long day, but we are now closed. We're getting towards the close. This is the last, I guess, big event before we kind of close out the conference. I realized I rudely did not introduce myself at the beginning, got too quickly into it, but my name is Sean, General Secretary of the Africa Society here. And just want to again thank you all for coming and participating in the workshop, the actual panel sessions. I hope you found them rewarding, substantive, and it was just enjoyable to begin with. So you see this Innovation Seed Fund here. What this is we started this last year at the conference during COVID, or it's still COVID, but we wanted to raise money to fund ideas, including entrepreneurial projects and research from Oxford students that were focusing that research and entrepreneurial projects in African countries. And it was thought of our way of contributing as a conference. And you know, the Vice Chancellor of the university shared that vision and gave us a few £1,000s last year to distribute to 5 winners. And it was such a success, and she was so happy with the projects and the work, we decided that we would bring it into this year. And so that became the current Oxford Innovation Seed Fund. And it's hopefully be a tradition we get to continue. We're going to kick it off with Aoife's going to explain how this year went, and we'll go from there.
Okay, can I have the clicker? Thank you. Okay, hi everyone again, back with my pretty face. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you so much, guys, again, for sitting through. I hope you've had a great time like we've had. So very quickly, the Oxford Innovation Seed Fund this year, I was very excited to have managed that process. We received in total 33 applications. The criteria was very simple. You had to be an Oxford student, or you know, if you were working in a team, then one person on the team had to be an Oxford student. Again, you had to be looking at solving a problem in Africa, but with great innovation. Again, you didn't have too many words, so it had 250 words for 2 questions each. You know, so people brought their A game. It was tough, and I'm so glad I didn't get to judge any of those applications. So that brings me to this. We had an independent panel of judges who reviewed all of these applications. So we had Dr. Pinar Ozkan, who is a professor of entrepreneurship here at the University of Oxford. We had Prince Eke, who is co-CEO of Konga.com, which is one of Africa's leading e-commerce companies. And then we had Precious Oilade, who is program manager at Google and manages the Europe Fund for Black Founders. Yeah. Okay, time to award my winners. First up, a lot of work went into this, but I've been told that I think about 2 or 3 of the winners aren't here today, so that's fine. We would be happy to send this off to them, and then I get to keep their prize money, you know, good stuff. So Abdul-Razaq Salifu, is he here? No? Okay, but a round of applause. Yeah, he's here. Drum rolls.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So as part of the announcements, I had said to them that because you guys don't know the ideas that they came up with, right? So we've given them 2 minutes to just run us through their cool sort of ideas. Yeah. Do you want to talk to us real quick? 2 minutes.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much.
That's mine.
All right. Thank you. So ours is an idea that tries to solve.
Sorry, 1 second. You have to tap it.
Yeah. All right. So ours is an idea that tries to solve the supply chain problem along the chocolate value chain in Africa. So close to 50% of export earnings for Côte d'Ivoire actually comes from cocoa, and close to 20% comes from export earnings in Ghana comes from cocoa as well. And these 2 countries form close to 80% of the global cocoa exports. But then close to the 2 million farmers who are responsible for these exports actually still live in poverty. And the reason is because most of these farmers do not have access to the global world market prices for cocoa. And so it's not it's not frontier technology, but this is trying to use everyday innovation, simple technologies that are capable of having far-reaching impact in Africa. So it's not AI, it's not ML, but it's just an idea that seeks to bridge
that information asymmetry between local farmers and middlemen or produce buying companies. And so what we try to do is we try to use IVR, which is interactive voice response, to send information on world market prices with negotiation tips to these local farmers in local languages to empower them to be able to negotiate better at the farm gates. Because when these farmers are offered prices at the farm gates, because they do not have information about the world market prices, they have no other option than to accept what is offered them, even when produce prices might actually go up on the world markets. And so we believe that, yes, AI is excellent, ML is great, but then there's still room to use basic technologies that have far-reaching impact to improve a lot of lives across Africa. So that is what we are going to do.
A round of applause for Abdul-Razaq. I should say that this is the first time that I'm doing this. Like, I'm so important. Are we good?
I'm just going to
Should we go behind this?
Yeah. Get closer.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you very much. I would send you a cash when I have some time. Up next, we have Claire Mongo, but she's not around at the moment. She's off touring, so she clearly doesn't need this money. Next is Abobea Akuffo. Is he or she around? Oh, yay! Woo! Hi, okay. Do you want to talk to us for 2 minutes? Awesome.
Hello, thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Abobea Akuffo. I'm a final year DPhil student at the Department of Sociology, University of Oxford. So I co-founded Talent Pool with another colleague of mine. I'll give a bit of context and the problem we are trying to solve. We are trying to solve 3 issues here. That is unemployment, underemployment, and then under exploitation. As in Africa, we are not able to exploit the various talents that we have. We believe that people with talent have the right to move wherever they are, and talent is not morally arbitrary, so they have the right to choose whichever country they want to go to. They don't owe a special duty to their countries of origin. We live in a globalized world, and for that matter, the right to live is an essential personal or fundamental freedom that we don't have to infringe upon. Having said that, we also recognize that there is brain drain, and Africa is the most affected. The critical question we need to ask and solve is, what about the brains that are left behind? We at Talent Pool believe that the brains that are left behind in Africa are talented too. So we were motivated by the idea that we can achieve equitable distribution of human resources if we have a system that is very effective at working with the brains that are left in Africa. Because if we are successfully able to work with the brains left behind, then people will also be motivated to come back to Africa after a short stay away. We propose 4 models: the management, training, and attachment model, the supply of talent model, the project development model, and then the attachment model. All these models have been created so that first we can train, we can take our pool of talent through a special training in project conceptualization, customer development, marketing, etc. After we train them, we will seek to attach them to various companies who will be interested in their services. We will also create a database of the talent that we have from the national service database of graduates that have, people that have graduated from schools in Africa, and then those that are outside Africa through the various scholarship commissions, etc. When we do that, we can then match talent to specializations and various companies that need their help. With this innovative seed funding, we will be able to scale this we will work with the project that I have outlined, and then we will also be able to create some marketing strategies. With time, we hope to be able to scale this up to solve the unemployment, underemployment, and underexploitation of our talent. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay. No, I have to look at that. So, which one? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Next, we have Ishaq Bolarinwa. Are you here? Okay, you can use this microphone. Yeah, yep.
Okay, so am I the only one that was amazed by Abobea's outfit?
Whose outfit?
Abobea's outfit. Can you give a round of applause for her as well, please?
Please do what you need to do. I leave my space.
We have to recognize greatness. So my name is Ishaq Bolarinwa. Everybody calls me Ish. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm an MBA student at the University of Oxford. So I'm a co-founder at a company called Anfani. And to speak about Anfani for 2 minutes is like trying to speak about your favorite TV show for 10 seconds. But I'll try. So some, if not all of us here today, know about the problems of electricity in sub-Saharan Africa. We are, to put it in perspective, to get everybody on the same foundational base, right? There are 800 million people in the world today without access to electricity. So I mean zero energy. Now, 600 million of those, which is about 80%, they're in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, I don't mean to make you all feel sad and everything, because it's not all gloom and doom. There's been progress in the last 5 to 10 years. We've had a lot of solar energy providers come up and try to solve this from a clean energy standpoint, which is great to see. So we are not trying to do something exactly as what they've done. Now, there are two issues here. There's availability and there's affordability. Availability, it looks like that gap is being closed, where you have a lot of companies coming in and trying to close this gap. But affordability is still lacking. So what are we trying to do at Anfani? We're a brokering platform. And in one sentence, we are the energy broker for the unbanked. Now, we have 3 different customer segmentations we're working with. We have the capital providers, we have the small and medium-scale enterprises, and then we have the solar energy providers themselves. Now, we're trying to ensure that high-tech solar systems are getting across to small and medium-scale enterprises at lower interest rates, easy to pay back over time, and also creating a win-win-win scenario across all board. So for banks and neobanks and fiat banks and individual funders particularly as well, they're able to actually get more revenue over time. For solar energy providers, they're able to get more customers and more data. We know how important data is in Africa right now. And the key thing is that for small and medium-scale enterprises to be able to actually get access to energy, which is critical for us. So it's good to see all these lovely faces here. I'm sure there are people here with expertise in this field, whether it's clean tech or fintech. So we would love advice from you. If you want us to get across to you, we will. And thank you for listening to me today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ish. Okay. Sorry, one second. I'm just moving this. Oh, I keep forgetting. Okay, thank you. And last but not the least is Daniel Boo. Are you here? Oh, use this microphone.
All right, hi everyone. So, it's been a real privilege being here today and, getting this as well. I think it's been a privilege in many ways because just being, even being here for the conversation, not even talking about the specific project that I've been working on. Multiple people have already poked holes in my project and, or at least identified leaks, which will be very helpful going forward. And so the thing that I've been working on is building out surgical capacity in Uganda over the last couple of years. We're working in conjunction with a lot of the local experts, the health administrators there. And one of the things, that people always talk about is, the promise of the youth in Uganda, in East Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa in general. And I think to really promote that sort of, promise, you need to provide health, you need to help them. And I think this project that we're doing is basically providing like the optimal sort of simulation scenarios that will show these health administrators where they can make their decisions to place pediatric operating rooms and operating theaters in like under-resourced neighborhoods for the greatest leverage, for the greatest impact as well. And so, we're going to build that using data that we will pay for, using fair value prices with these health administrators. We've already talked to them, and hopefully that's what we're going to do. We're going to build out that using software that we have to license. And finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that, we're working on this project due to a lot of, my personal role models in Uganda who are, the very few pediatric surgeons who have stayed there, who have motivated, for 20 million children in our catchment area. 4 of them have stayed, haven't left for, other places elsewhere. And they've really shown me what it means to be there, to be dedicated, and to work in policy, in business, in healthcare. And so that's been something I've been doing for my MBA for the past couple of years. And I'm really thankful for this. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. So he has a note this way.
Sure.
Okay. All right, guys, that's it from me. Emeka, do you wanna? You're welcome.
Wow. Hi, everyone, again. I want to get very quick feedback from the audience. How did you like this conference? Just very, very quick feedback. What stood out to you? If anyone can just raise their hand and just let me know, so that we can take that to next year and beyond. Yeah, thank you, Pamela.
I've attended the Oxford Africa conference for a number of years. I think what has stood out for this one is the practicality of the workshops and the way that the program has been done, from, for example, the keynote address that looked at the trends, the challenges, to the discussions in between, and then taking into the workshops. I don't think that has ever been done before, so kudos to you and the team for that.
Thank you so much, Pamela. Yeah, go for it, yeah.
I agree with that as well. I think that, I've attended a few workshops as well and events, and, I don't ever think I've been in a situation where we're getting all this, kind of discussions and talks and then actually taking it into a practical setting. So, I thought that was really, really useful. And, also just to have discussions with everyone from so many different backgrounds, yet we all have a very similar vision. So, I thought that was great. Lastly, I think, just the discussions with VCs as well. We always see VCs as, people we don't necessarily interact with. So to have those discussions with them and actually open it up for us to interact with them and make those connections, I thought that was, for me, invaluable.
Thank you. I had to do this because somewhere in my heart, I was hoping that people really love this event. But now I'm happy that we've gotten some kind of validation. I'm just going to do something very quickly. I'm going to try to recap everything that has happened since yesterday. And then after that, we can now draw on a few lessons, and then that'll be it. So one thing is to also cast our minds back to where we started. So the aim of this conference was basically to solve problems. So every time you hear about Africa, it's about the problems, educational problems, power access problems, climate challenges, etc. It's unending. So basically, sorry, I don't know, someone is trying to call me. Yeah, I'm so sorry, yeah. Yeah, sometimes my phone just misbehaves, so we need some tech solution for this as well. So basically every time we hear about Africa, all we think about mostly is problems. But then as a committee, we thought about distances, challenges, and opportunities instead. And that's what led to this conference. So what was kind of one of the most pivotal ways you can address these challenges? We kind of see a kind of, would I say, an industry that is marrying these problems, which is the startup sector. Amongst us, I can see a few founders and co-founders, and like you said, a few VC guys and all of that who are really working on this. So basically, we started yesterday by trying to understand these challenges and how to solve them. Our keynote speaker did an amazing job at explaining to us how large this sector is growing, and hence the opportunity that we all have to tap into this kind of market. I mean, 5 billion invested in Africa last year. I mean, that was really good. I mean, gave a very good impression about the continent and hence investor confidence. Beyond the keynotes, we now had the first founders panel where we had people who were solving logistic problems, trying to reduce the cost of food, trying to improve educational access in Africa. And I think one of the things that really stood out in that particular panel was that Africa has to solve Africa's problems. I think leaving this place, that's one of the things that we definitely should keep with us. So as you're here, being someone who is interested on the continent, think about how to take your solutions back, build those healthcare solutions, build those energy solutions, build everything to make sure that the continent becomes better. We now had a second panel, which was really interesting. There were people who were working on like insurance tech, working on, like social media influencers and how to get them to generate income. I mean, I thought that was a no-brainer, absolutely beautiful ideas. And again, there, we were able to pick out how do you identify value. So when you find yourself in a society, and I'm going to cast back to something I heard sometime when I was in high school. And this is supposed to be a bad story, but it turned out to be a good story. So there was this guy who was a bully. So he was bullying me. And then he asked me to give him some money for something. And then I told him, where do I get this money from? And he said, there's money everywhere. Look around you. It's in the air. Just think of how to get value. And since then, I've always had that statement like stick in my mind, so that was one good I took out of this bully. Yeah, and that's kind of also what we learned from the second panel is like always remember value. So, and the value can come from anything. It can come from looking at like social media influencers. It can come from looking at, some sectors that have currently not been looked into. People are unbanked, underbanked, underserved. People don't have energy. All of that is value that you can create. Today we came and then we had an amazing keynote speech from Basel, talking again about a lot of things with respect to the continent. One of the things that really stood out to me there is the fact that it's possible that this growth that we are talking about in the startup ecosystem in Africa has always been there, but it's just we are now gathering more data, right? So like he also did mention that Africans are generally very entrepreneurial in their nature. And I really like the story he gave about the grit of some guy who got an F in a course because he needed to sign a contract. And I think I see that grit in a lot of people also in this room. And I think that that's something that we need to reinforce as well going forward. Obviously, he did say a lot of things about learning that we need to build trust. It's not just about the finances, but people invest in people rather than in your ideas. And that's actually very true. We see the trends in fintech, like all the companies that had raised 100 million plus were like fintech companies. So, I mean, I'm not saying anything. And then also, I mean, there's also this whole idea of vertical integration, building complementary services. And one thing, again, that I want to make sure that we take out is the fact that you need to embrace challenges, like what the story gave about the Formula One race and how interesting outcomes only come when you have like some rocky weather conditions, as opposed to a very beautiful sunny, weather, I think is something that is really powerful. So it means that we should, as Africans, try to shine when things are very, very challenging, right? And I think it's something that we are all trying to work at. We now had the first panel, which was very, very beautiful, but because I tried to streamline everything that was taught, I mean, one of the things that really stood out to me, which I think is very practical, is the fact that we need more startups in this ecosystem. So they talked about the fact that you need to increase the critical mass of companies that they can invest in, because it's now from those companies that you build a higher probability of having unicorns and more successes. And then the more you have these successes, then the more other companies spring up as a result of that, and then they build on each other. On the next panel, we talked about trends and prospects in the startup ecosystem, where they talked about changes from like how funding is moving from, just growth capital to now more risky kind of ideation capital, which is quite useful. So it means that if you were worried here about raising money because you don't have a business already, it means that people are actually looking into some, smart, risky, innovative ideas. So you don't necessarily need to have all of that. And then they also talked about this integration. I really like the idea of how fintech was the enabler for most e-commerce companies. So, I mean, it also speaks to the fact that we can now begin to think of other things that can also enable fintechs better and enable other sectors like energy, for instance. Fintech is now an enabler for energy and things like that. Shockingly, also, is the fact that global trends tend to affect Africa negatively, but then sometimes not very positively. So you have like some sectors grow, and then they're growing maybe in the US and in the UK and other parts of the world, but they're not growing as fast in Africa. Africa now tends to play catch up. But then when things hit, negatively, like when COVID struck or when the war that Russia is, putting on Ukraine happened, like immediately Africa becomes like one of the worst hit. I was reading a very interesting report that was released, I think, last week by the World Bank, and they talked about how Africa's GDP is shrinked 1% already since the Russia-Ukraine crisis, which is really crazy. I mean, for something we didn't contribute to. Now that kind of leads us to something about how do we improve local capital, inward trading, increase the amount of, internal or interregional trade from what 13% that it is currently, and we need to start, aiming for the 60, 70%. So Africans need to buy African products, buy local, and I think there's models for that we can definitely look into. And also, as you're trying to think about your ideas and solutions, also remember corporate governance, because obviously that's the only way you can, raise the capital that you need. So you might be a tech person, you might be the, solution framework kind of person, but remember that we need to document all of these things together, and that is very, very useful. We had the workshops, absolutely amazing, insights coming from all of you, which I'm really looking forward to putting everything together. But some things really stood out. I like the story of the person who talked about how Afrobeat broke the global market and how some people probably took the risk, losing their local market and decided to go international. But then today other people are taking the credit for it. But then that doesn't make them any less of people. I mean, it just meant that the entire sector became better. So we can also do this. We can be as bold and courageous as possible and take our ideas globally. And then people begin to crave Africa tech as opposed to craving American tech. We also looked at the story with respect to like Rwanda's policies and how we need to start thinking a bit more strategically and long term. If you're a policy person in this room and you're trying to make policies for countries, like now begin to think about how do we literally sell our value as being an innovative, country or an innovative city, so that more of these startups, investments, and ideas can come around. Again, because we want to make sure that everything is very practical rather than theoretical, we had the Innovation Seed Fund, where absolutely amazing ideas. I didn't know we had up to 33 applications. I just heard that today. So thank you, Ife, for that. And then we saw people, again, brilliant ideas on health, agriculture, energy, and human capacity development and retention. And I think that these are some of the most critical sectors if you want to really resolve the key issues that bedeviling the continents today. So that for me was something that was really, really amazing to see. I think for me, I don't know what it is for everyone. I'm just going to encapsulate the things I think I'm taking home, from this conference today. And it's just very few lines. So one of them is stop seeing issues as just problems, see them as challenges that come with complementary opportunities, right? So you might be a doctor, you might be a philosopher, a psychologist. In all of your sectors, there are things that enable, more efficient activities there. So some of those can actually turn into like ideas that drive revenue, right? So based on seeing problems as challenges, let's begin to think about how to build solutions. So it's not just about, oh, I'm a startup person. It doesn't have to be a code. It doesn't have to be, some people yesterday talked about how they started with WhatsApp before they now got the app, right? So just make things, kind of easier for everyone to use, learn to attract value, get involved in different sectors that are currently very problematic: health, education, energy, climate, all of these very, very critical sectors that affect our survival as a continent and as a people. And putting all of this together, I would say we should all try to be as positive as possible in really building the kind of Africa that we want. Let's change this narrative from always complaining to, begin to really solve problems, itemize these problems as they come, and now build the solutions for them. Given you might fail in some of them, but again, as the panelists did explain to all of us, it's beautiful to fail, because then what it means is that there's some valuable learning that comes from it. On that note, I would like to say thank you everyone for coming for the Oxford Africa Conference. And then before I finally end, I would like to give special appreciation to some people who are on the back end. I don't want to mention names because then I can't mention everything, but I have to mention Azamati Ebenezer. Thank you so much, Mr. President, for making all of this happen. Thanks, Sean Patney. Sean is this man. You want to build any team, meet Sean. Talk to him. I tell you, the entire team that put this together, Tolu, Ife, Fikayo, you all were amazing. Olivia, and thank you so much, Adaku, for coming together and putting all this representation for us today in images. And I think most importantly, I want everyone to give themselves a very beautiful round of applause for your very wonderful contributions today.